Instructors, in reality, high-ranking officers from the Great War, taught sergeants and lieutenants the techniques of commanding entire divisions in preparation for some future war. Among the eager students was young Erwin Rommel, a platoon leader in the war, who was regarded by a superior as the perfect fighting animal, cold, cunning, ruthless, untiring, incredibly brave. In 1921, the Old Prussian, without informing the German government, negotiated a clandestine mutual military assistance pact with a highly unlikely ally, the Soviet Union, against whom Germany had fought bitterly during the Great War. The alliance had been instigated by Nikolai Lenin, the founder of the Soviet Union. Back in March 1917, news of the downfall of Tsar Nicholas II had reached Lenin in exile in Switzerland, where he had been trying to foment a revolution. In his impatience to return home, he accepted for himself and his friends the offer by the German Kaiser Wilhelm of a private railroad car to travel to Russia across Germany. Kaiser Bill, as he was called by the Allies, was confident that Lenin would aid his cause by taking Russia out of the war against Germany. But Lenin's own aim was to make not only Russia, but the entire world, Germany included, communist countries. Arriving in Petrograd, as St. Petersburg was then called, in April, Lenin called on the Russian masses to join him in overthrowing the moderate government and replacing it with a communist one. Most of the peasants joined his Bolsheviks, and in October 1917, the government was ousted. Lenin became absolute dictator. As Kaiser Bill had hoped, he took the huge but ineptly led Russian army out of the war. Now, 3 years later, with both the Soviet and German economies in dire straits and inflation galloping out of control, Nikolai Lenin had instructed the Soviet ambassador to Germany, Nikolai Krestinsky, to make a discreet approach to General von Zicht. The result was the secret alliance between the two nations. If it was not a shotgun marriage, it was certainly one of necessity. The Red Army lacked both professional leadership skills and military schools for that training. Germany had no airplanes, tanks, or heavy guns, or an air force or a navy. Under the terms of the pact, German military advisors would secretly assist the Soviet Union in modernizing its army. In return, the Reichswehr would receive periodic clandestine shipments of Soviet-built heavy weapons. At the same time, the cream of the Reichswehr would be sent to the Soviet Union in civilian clothes to be trained on the airplanes and tanks being developed there by German armaments experts. Each year, a third of the annual budget of the Reichswehr went into a curious cartel, the Gesellschaft zur Förderung gewerblichen Unternehmen, the Industrial Enterprises Development Corporation. From its offices, one in Berlin and one in Moscow, it dealt directly with the Soviet government and had several subcontracting branches throughout the Soviet Union. The seemingly commercial corporation was a cover for the Reichswehr. Under the direction of the phony firm, aircraft shells, submarines, and poison gas were produced in the Soviet Union and shipped clandestinely to Germany. At his headquarters in Berlin in September 1921, General von Zicht set up Sondergruppe R, Special Group R, the cover name for an operation run by selected officers to coordinate the numerous secret German manufacturing and military assistance programs taking place in the Soviet Union. At the same time, the Old Prussian dispatched one of his key officers, Colonel Oskar von Niedermeyer, to the Soviet Union to open the Zentrale Moskau, Moscow Central. Niedermeyer immediately began dashing about the immense Soviet Union, wearing civilian clothes, and carrying out his function of coordinating all secret German